Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Hunt. Hope everyone's having a great week heading into President's Day weekend. For those who haven't tuned in before, this is our bi-weekly podcast dedicated towards helping job seekers and hiring managers navigate the ever-changing world of recruiting. So we come at you every couple of weeks with another topic that we're seeing very prevalent in the hiring market that job seekers are struggling with or battling with, hiring managers are having trouble with, and we bring it to you from the perspective of us as agency recruiters. I'm the managing director at Advice Personnel. We're a recruitment agency in the New York area, and we see these situations every single day. We're helping guide candidates through it. We're helping advise clients through these scenarios. So we figured what better way than to bring this forum to a mass audience and help guide people through all the different scenarios that you might face in the recruiting landscape. So thanks for tuning in, and we hope this week's episode is helpful. We're going to be touching on a very prevalent topic that I've heard more and more of, especially with more people changing jobs now. So if you're facing this and you're watching, feel free to use the comment box throughout the show. You can chime in with questions. I'll be answering those throughout real time. You could also use the comment box or message me after the show. Happy to give you any insight that I can. But with, again, how many people seem to be shifting jobs, naturally, you're going to find that a lot of people end up landing in positions that were misrepresented or that they don't find to be as expected or that just don't end up working out. And I hear from so many candidates that I speak with that call me and they say, Kevin, I'm really unhappy. I made a bad move, but I've only been here 4, 5, 6 months. And I think I have to give it a year, right? Because my resume is going to look terrible. No one's going to hire me if I'm leaving after only a few months. And we're here to squash that stereotype. The truth is there's no arbitrary amount of time that's the right amount of time to stay at a job, whether it's 6 months or 8 months or 10 months. There's no standard. If you're unhappy and the job's not working out, there is an escape. There is a way out as long as it's approached in the right way. So that's what this episode today is all about. And again, if you're battling with this, if you're sitting in a tough spot, you made a mistake, you made a bad move, didn't end up panning out, use the comment box, chime in, ask questions, and I'll do my best to get through those throughout the show. But the first piece that really people become concerned about is the resume. And everyone asks, how's this going to affect my resume? And how's this going to look to a potential employer? Well, the truth is the resume becomes irrelevant if this next job you take is a job that you're going to be at long term. The only time this short run on your resume becomes a factor long term is if you then go on a slippery slope and now you make a sequence of bad moves and you got 5 straight jobs of 6 months or less. But you can't really think that way because that's already setting yourself up to fail. What you should be thinking about is that you've had a bad run, you made a bad decision, you made a mistake. Now put that extra diligence into your next move. Make sure it's the right fit before you join. And if this next fit is right, that little blip on the radar is never going to become a factor long term. So stop thinking that way. If you're out there and you're concerned, it's going to look bad on my resume and how's that going to affect me? It's really not going to have that impact unless you make another poor decision and start stacking those up. And think about your history. Is this a common trend? Have you had a lot of runs like this where you tend to make bad decisions? Or are you someone who has always had good stability prior to this and this is the one blip on the radar? I mean, think about it like Leonardo DiCaprio, one of my favorite actors, makes great movies all the time, always consistent. You always know it's going to be good. If he came out right now and his next movie was an absolute flop, most of us would think very little of it. We'd say, all right, you know what? He read the script, probably got thrown off or chose a bad movie, or we might blame the director, or maybe we blame the writing or the shooting or something. We wouldn't sit there and say, this guy is a terrible actor, red flag, he's done, we can't hire him anymore, right? So people make certain mistakes, and that's the same with your job. Maybe the culture didn't pan out as expected. Maybe the job was misrepresented. Maybe you just have had turnover. Maybe your boss that you were supposed to work for left. There's so many reasons. So stop thinking so much about the little blip on the resume and focus on your overall happiness and what you're really looking to get into. The second piece that really becomes a factor for people is they worry about, how do I explain this to a prospective employer? They're going to be questioning, why am I leaving so quickly? And what do I say? And how do I go about this? Be honest, be real. People make mistakes. Obviously, unless you're someone who loves chaos, you probably weren't going into this job knowing that it was going to be something where in 3 months you were going to be unhappy. So be real about that. When an employer asks you, and if I'm the candidate, Kevin, you've only been there 3 months, a little concerned, why are you looking to leave so quickly? That's it. Well, very honest, I was hoping this was going to pan out differently. I was really excited about this role. I thought it was going to be an amazing fit, and I thought I would see myself here very long term. Unfortunately, a few things have taken place that have really changed the landscape. Number one, the boss I was supposed to work for left my first week on the job, and he was the one I was really excited to work with. Maybe I came in and it just the role itself, they completely changed around from what I was expecting. Whatever it is, just be honest and be humble enough to say, in hindsight, I've learned a lot. I could have maybe done a little more diligence, but some of these things just seem like they happen circumstantially, and it's just completely changed. And I feel like I owe it to myself to not stay in a role that's taking me down a different path just for the sake of trying to increase stability if it's not going to be the right fit. So be real. If a company can't buy that and can't appreciate that, then it might not be the right place to work anyways. And quite frankly, if you already are on an interview, they see that on your resume and they're still interviewing you, that means they're willing to look past it as long as you have a good, honest answer for why. It's a different story if they reject your resume and say they don't want to meet with you because of that. But if they're meeting with you, they're already in the back of their mind saying, I could get past that if everything makes sense. So be real, be honest, be transparent, and don't get so caught up with how are they going to perceive it? Is it going to make sense? If you're not happy and the role is not working out, you owe it to yourself to explore other options. And Shoshana mentions, it really speaks to a candidate's ability to course correct. As a hiring manager, Shoshana appreciates the honesty in stepping aside, right? And so it's twofold. If I hire somebody and we know and they know it's not right and they're not going to be here long term, I would almost rather them tell me early on, and it still stings and it hurts that this just happened and it looks bad when it's quick turnover. But is that worse than having someone that you're going to invest a year in, start to put staff around, people get more acclimated to, people get more friendly with, people become part of the team, and then they leave anyways when they were always going to? So have that honest conversation, and you'd be surprised how it could really benefit not only you, but also the company you're leaving behind. So really thinking through that, those are the two biggest concerns. And if you're watching and you think of any other questions or concerns that you're dealing with as to why you would hesitate leaving just because of the time frame, then let me know. But the two biggest things really seem to be people worried about their resume, and remember the Leonardo DiCaprio example, and then worried about how to explain that. And that comes down to just being real. So the big $1 million question is, how much time is enough time before you can realistically make a change? And honestly, there's no perfect science. There's no perfect amount of time that means you can now look, you did your part. But what you should be doing is, if you come in and you settle in for a few weeks and a month goes by and you start to recognize some things were significantly misrepresented, it's time to have a conversation. Speak to your hiring manager, talk through it that you're really excited about the potential, but you just want to kind of recap when you interviewed. Here were a few things you guys discussed. It seems like the role's been focused in a different direction. Have things changed, or is this part of the ramp up? Get a sense of what's going on and why things have changed, or if you have challenges or frustrations, get them out there in a very positive, healthy way. You owe it to yourself and this company to bring those things to light and see if they make strides to change. All right. So now you're about a month in, you give that heads up that things are starting to be a little different than what you expected, and then give it a little more time and see if they come through with any changes. If you can tell that it's just getting brushed under the rug, this is what it is. This company's definitely not making any changes. You clearly made a mistake and this thing's not going to work out. Then at that point, you've done your part. At least start feeling out some different opportunities, but be very diligent this time around. Take your time. Continue to do a great job at work. Maybe in the course of you interviewing some other places or exploring other opportunities, maybe things do turn around at this company. None of us want to uproot just for changing. No one likes change. So maybe this thing will work out, but you owe it to yourself to be open-minded. All right. On the client side, listen, companies usually, I know most of you have seen it in an offer letter, there's a 90-day probation period. A lot of companies do 90 days until benefits kick in, or 90 days until they have to pay a recruiter fee. The industry standard is 90 days to evaluate whether a candidate's going to work out. So think about it the same way. If you came into a new job, when you interviewed, you highlighted some really strong skills of yours, said, I'm great with Excel, I'm an expert in this, and you come in and the company realizes very early on, you clearly don't have those skills. And they completely misread the strength of your experience for this job. They'll probably sit down with you, they'll talk through it, let you know where you're falling short, give you some time to see if you pick it up. And if at that point they're realizing this is never going to work, they're not sitting there saying, well, we might have to give it a year or 18 months just to improve stability. They're going to make that call. And the same holds true on the flip side. So there's no perfect science to it. You want to use 3 months as a good evaluation period, the same way a company does. I think that's very fair to figure out if it's the right fit, but you owe it to yourself to have that conversation. If in the first few weeks you're already noticing things, don't shut down. Don't already give up and resort to that it's not going to work. Try having that conversation. And maybe 5 times out of 10, maybe those things will change. All right. So I really hope this helps. For those of you out there that are watching this, that feel stuck in a job, it's clearly not going to work. It's not the experience you were expecting. It's not what you were thinking you were going to do. You're not trapped. You could try a few of these methods that I shared today and really be open-minded. And don't worry about your resume, because you're going to make sure that next role is a place you're going to be 5 years, and that blip on the radar is going to long dissipate. And don't worry about how to approach it on an interview and how it's going to be perceived. Do it, explore it, have that conversation, and you'd be surprised how receptive people are. People make mistakes and you make bad decisions. Jobs are misrepresented. Changes happen. It happens all the time. All right. So I really hope this was helpful. If anybody else has any questions, please throw them in the comment box. Comment after the show. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Send me a direct message if you have questions or ways that I can help support you in any way. Make sure you follow Advice Personnel on LinkedIn. We're constantly putting out content throughout the week, helping advising through your job search or your hiring practices. And then every episode of The Hunt, you'll get a link live as soon as the show starts, whenever we launch those episodes. So hope this helps. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. And if you're trapped in a job right now, put this stuff to good use and find a place where you'll be happier, and reach out to us if there's any way we can help. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day and has a great President's Day weekend. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode of The Hunt. Take care.